If you're somebody that struggles with mobility in the kind of deep squat, range of motion, and you've tried all these different stretches before you squat and whatever, and nothing really works, I want to tell you to try hip thrusts. Honestly, I don't know what it is, but everything that's involved in good hip mobility is right in the hip thrust. It's a 5 o'clock in the morning session. Usually I'm quite stiff, in these kind of sessions. Takes me a little bit of time to kind of get going, but I did 10 sets of 5 with 7 kilos of these hip thrusts, and it just fires up the right muscles, the glutes, the hamstrings, the adductors, everything kind of gets warm. And then when I go into squatting, I feel like I'm more upright, I'm more friendly kind of in the bottom position. So that's why I'm saying this. If you're somebody that's struggling with hip mobility and basically, deep squats, I think this is something you should try. It's a different kind of peak contraction. It's a horizontal kind of push. So the peak contraction in this movement is kind of right at the top, whereas in a squat, I guess the glutes are kind of peak contraction. I want to say parallel, just about parallel, something like this. So it's kind of a different contraction, even though it's 7 kilos in the bar. It doesn't seem like it's a lot, what I'm doing this morning, but it's really good. So for the last, I want to say 5 days, I haven't even looked at the log, but the last 5 days I've done this, and each day I've kind of had good mobility days. Now I'm not doing these kind of as the primary workout. It's purely just activation. It's purely just, get the hips firing. And then when I go to the squat, there's a pop to me. I don't know how else to say it. We joke around it like I feel poppy with it, but honestly, there's something to it. So this morning I worked up to a top set of 180 kilos again. This is like the 5th day in a row that I've, or something like this, that I've hit 180. I haven't been feeling 100% physically, with the upper respiratory tract infection, but I've still been able to kind of hit 180. And I think I'm attributing that to the hip thrusts, because it kind of gets me going. It gets my hips firing in the right kind of manner, and then I can go to the squats and feel strong. For me, if I can feel strong in the bottom position, then everything else goes well. For me, the struggling days are the ones where I kind of get to the bottom and I lose, or I feel like I lose tightness. You guys probably won't see this on camera, but I feel like I've lost control of my lower back. For me, that's kind of a red flag. I've said this in the past. All I ever think about when I work out is flat back, control your back. That's it. I've mentioned a story in the past where I've had a near miss, kind of like 10 years ago in the gym, when I had a loud pop in my lower back, and the subsequent kind of paresthesia, or numbness in my legs and pain and all that. I was lucky that day to kind of come out unscathed, but since then I've kind of been scared shitless of back injuries. So one of you guys actually said last night or the night before, all of your lifts seem like you're lifting with RPE 8 at most, and it's probably true. Like I hate grinders. I hate RPE 10, especially in training. I don't think you achieve much from it at all. But the way a certain weight moves, how many reps you got. Like, you don't have to wander into the woods to work out what's going on. Like if the weight slows down to a particular point, that the end weight is near. So I don't think there's much value in that, other than learning how to freaking strain for 12 seconds against the bar. I don't know what else you can do, but to me, the cost of that is way too high for the benefit that you're getting. So I stay away from it. So if I have mobility, especially in these kind of morning sessions, where I kind of feel comfortable getting in the kind of ATG position without compromising my lower back, then I feel good to load. But if I kind of get to like 140, 160 kilo, and I feel like, okay, my back is kind of like trembling, I'm fighting real hard to keep my back straight, then I don't like it. That's when I kind of start thinking, okay, the end is near of kind of what we're pushing today. But when I do hip thrusts, my glutes fire, and I'm sure the hip, the psoas, the hip flexors kind of are involved in that as well, antagonists. But basically, I feel my glutes fire, I feel my adductors fire as well, which is interesting. But they also have a role in hip extension, like I mentioned last night. And also I feel hamstrings. So hamstrings, adductors, glutes, everything fires in a kind of non-axial loading way. And then by the time you get to the squats, you're like, this is awesome. This is easy. Everything's kind of already turned on. So it's a really cool activation exercise. You can also obviously make that the primary focus of your session. But I think if you're somebody that's struggling with movement, range of movement, range of motion, the squats, I definitely recommend you try this. At least one session, just feel it out and try. There's something to it. I wouldn't be feeling this way if there was nothing to it, especially like, you roll out of bed, you come in here, it's cold, it's rainy. And for you to get into an ATG position right away, that's advanced level mobility. For me, I feel kind of good midday, later in the day, I can squat really well. But to squat 180 with confidence, even though that's a slow ass rep, it feels good. The last 5 days I've hit these hip thrusts, and I've been doing basically every night before I go to bed. I've been doing these clamshells as well. I've been reading a lot about hip internal rotation, hip external rotation, anterior pelvic tilt, all that sort of stuff. And I've kind of been, chipping at it. I think clamshells are a really good exercise for the glute medius. And glute medius is kind of, they have a role in hip internal rotation. And obviously they help keep your knees out when you squat as well. So I'm just kind of focusing on the glutes at the moment. I think I've found Poppy, like I've said in previous videos, so I'm going to keep working with it. All right, guys, that's me. I got to get out of here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.